The plane landed safely at exactly 2:11 a.m. Rain hammered against the runway lights as passengers slowly stepped out of Flight 908 at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. 217 people boarded the flight in New York, but only 216 walked out. At first, nobody noticed. That's the terrifying thing about disappearances. Most people imagine them happening dramatically. Screaming, panic, chaos. But real disappearances are usually quiet. A missing suitcase, an unanswered phone, an empty chair, and then suddenly reality starts feeling wrong. Because 3 hours after Flight 908 landed, airport security received a terrified call from a passenger. A man named Ethan Cole. His voice shook violently while speaking. There was a woman sitting beside me during the flight. Silence. Then the operator calmly asked, "Sir, what seems to be the problem?" Ethan swallowed hard. The airline says she never existed. At first, police assumed Ethan was drunk, or exhausted, or mentally unstable. But then more passengers started calling. A flight attendant remembered serving the woman coffee. A little girl remembered drawing pictures with her. An elderly passenger remembered hearing her cry quietly during turbulence. Everyone remembered the woman. Everyone except the airline. Because according to every official record, Seat 14C had been empty the entire flight. No ticket, no passport, no security footage, no boarding scan, nothing. And that was only the beginning. Because 48 hours later, people who remembered her started disappearing too.
Seattle was drowning in rain the night Flight 908 arrived. The kind of cold Pacific Northwest rain that made the entire city feel half asleep. Streetlights reflected off wet asphalt. Fog wrapped around airport terminals. And somewhere beneath the noise of landing aircraft and distant thunder, something impossible had already begun. Ethan Cole sat alone inside his apartment staring at a photograph. He had printed it less than an hour earlier. The image showed passengers boarding Flight 908 in New York. Blurry, grainy, almost useless, except for one detail. Near the boarding gate, partially hidden behind another traveler, stood a woman wearing a dark gray coat, long black hair, pale face, nervous expression, and eyes fixed directly toward the camera. Ethan zoomed in repeatedly. His breathing became slower, because he recognized her instantly. That was the woman from Seat 14C. The woman nobody could identify. The woman who officially did not exist. But something else bothered him more. The timestamp on the image, 11:43 p.m. 3 minutes after boarding had already closed, meaning the woman somehow appeared at the gate after passengers were already inside the aircraft. That should have been impossible. But impossible things kept happening around Flight 908, and Ethan was about to discover that some mysteries were buried intentionally, not because they were unsolved, but because somebody powerful wanted them erased forever.
Ethan Cole hated flying, not because of turbulence, not because of heights. He hated the silence, the strange emotional distance inside airplanes. Hundreds of strangers, trapped together above the clouds. Each person carrying secrets nobody else would ever know. That night, he boarded Flight 908 in New York after attending a cybersecurity conference. He was 34, recently divorced, exhausted constantly. The kind of man people forgot seconds after conversations ended, which was exactly why he noticed her, the woman in Seat 14C. Most passengers ignored each other during flights, but she looked terrified, not nervous, terrified. She kept glancing toward the back of the plane every few minutes, as if she expected someone dangerous to appear. Around midnight, the cabin lights dimmed. Rain battered the windows, while the aircraft crossed above the Rocky Mountains. That's when the woman finally spoke. "Do you ever feel like people can disappear without actually dying?" Ethan looked at her strangely. "What?" She gave a weak smile. "Forget it." Her voice sounded exhausted, like someone who hadn't slept properly in days. Ethan noticed bruises near her wrist, faint, partially hidden beneath her sleeve. Before he could ask anything else, she leaned closer. "If something happens after we land." She hesitated. then whispered, "Don't trust anyone from the airport." A chill moved through Ethan immediately. "What are you talking about?" But before she could answer, turbulence hit the aircraft violently. Passengers gasped. Coffee spilled. Seatbelt signs flashed overhead. And when Ethan looked toward her again, she was staring directly toward the rear galley, at a man standing beside the restroom. Tall, black baseball cap, dark jacket, watching her silently. The moment Ethan noticed him, the man walked away. The woman in 14C stopped speaking for the rest of the flight. Flight 908 landed safely in Seattle at 2:11 a.m. Passengers slowly gathered luggage, while flight attendants thanked everyone for flying. Normal, routine, forgettable, except for one detail. Seat 14C was empty. Ethan frowned immediately. The woman's blanket remained folded near the window. Half-finished coffee still sat beside her seat, but she was gone. He assumed she exited early, until he reached baggage claim. That's where things became wrong. The little girl from row 12 approached him nervously while holding her mother's hand. "Did the sad lady leave?" Ethan blinked. "What?" "The lady beside you." The girl pointed toward the gate. She said somebody was following her. The mother apologized awkwardly and pulled her daughter away. But Ethan felt uneasy now. 20 minutes later, he overheard two flight attendants arguing near customer service. "I know she was sitting there," one whispered aggressively. "The manifest says the seat was empty," another replied. "That's impossible." Ethan approached them. "The woman in seat 14C. Both attendants looked at him instantly. "You saw her too." Something cold settled in Ethan's stomach, because now multiple strangers remembered the same woman, and according to the airline computer system, she had never boarded the aircraft. By morning, the story had reached airport security, not because a passenger disappeared, but because digital records made no sense. Every modern airport tracked everything: boarding scans, passport verification, facial recognition, CCTV, credit card purchases. Yet the woman from seat 14C left absolutely nothing behind. No airport footage showed her entering JFK. No TSA scan existed. No online booking. No payment records. Nothing. As if she had materialized directly inside the aircraft. Detective Lena Morales, from Port of Seattle Police, was assigned the case. At first, she treated it as simple confusion. A clerical issue. Incorrect seating. Sleep deprivation. But then she interviewed 12 passengers separately. Every statement matched. The same woman. Same gray coat. Same nervous behavior. Same seat. One passenger even described a scar near her neck. Details became too specific to ignore. Lena personally reviewed cabin footage from inside Flight 908, and that's when she nearly stopped breathing. The footage clearly showed Ethan speaking toward seat 14C multiple times, but the seat itself looked empty. No woman, no movement, nothing. Just Ethan talking toward an empty chair. Lena replayed the footage 6 times. The flight attendant serving coffee appeared to place a cup onto empty air. Passengers occasionally glanced toward the empty seat naturally. Even the little girl waved toward nobody. It looked impossible. Or worse, it looked edited. Aircraft black boxes recorded cockpit audio continuously. Usually investigators only reviewed them after crashes. But Lena requested the recording anyway, mostly out of desperation. At 3:42 p.m., she entered a secure FAA analysis room with 2 technicians. The audio began normally. Pilot conversations, engine noise, flight announcements. Then around 1:16 a.m., a faint sound appeared beneath the cabin noise. A woman crying. One technician adjusted the filters. The voice became clearer. "Please." Lena leaned forward slowly. "He's still here." The crying intensified. Then another voice appeared. Male. Calm. Disturbingly calm. "You were never supposed to board this flight." Silence. Then sudden static. The recording distorted violently for 11 seconds. When audio returned, the woman's voice was gone. The technicians stared at each other uneasily, because according to official records, No female passenger had spoken during that timestamp. Lena requested the original untouched black box data. That request was denied less than an hour later. Without explanation, Ethan Cole received the first warning at 9:14 p.m. Unknown number. No caller ID. When he answered, nobody spoke for several seconds. Then a distorted male voice whispered, "Forget the woman on the plane." The line disconnected. Ethan barely slept that night. The next morning he searched online for news about Flight 908. Nothing. No articles. No social media discussions. No passenger forums. Almost like the entire incident was being erased in real time. Then another disturbing thing happened. The flight attendant who remembered seat 14C disappeared. Completely. Co-workers claimed she quit unexpectedly. Family members stopped answering calls. Her apartment lease suddenly showed terminated. Within 24 hours, it became difficult proving she existed at all. Lena Morales noticed a pattern immediately. People connected to the missing passenger were being removed quietly, not murdered publicly, erased, which frightened her far more. Because killings created evidence, disappearances created silence, and silence was easier to control. 3 days later, Ethan received an envelope slid beneath his apartment door. No postage, no fingerprints. Inside was a single photograph. The woman from Flight 908, standing beside a black SUV outside Washington Dulles Airport. On the back, someone had written one name, Ava Mercer. Below it, "She stole something." Ethan immediately contacted Detective Lena. Together they began investigating Ava Mercer. The problem was no public records existed, no birth certificate, no employment history, no driver's license, nothing. But Lena eventually uncovered something buried inside classified federal transportation logs. Ava Mercer once worked as a contractor for a private cybersecurity firm linked to government intelligence operations. 3 months earlier, she vanished after allegedly stealing encrypted files connected to witness relocation programs. Officially, the case remained sealed. Unofficially, people inside federal agencies wanted her found immediately, alive or dead. Suddenly, Flight 908 stopped feeling like coincidence. Ava Mercer had boarded that aircraft intentionally. She was running from someone, and somehow those people reached her before the plane even landed. Ethan couldn't stop thinking about the man near the restroom, the one watching Ava during turbulence. He described him repeatedly to Lena. Tall, dark jacket, black baseball cap, emotionless face. Lena checked passenger manifests again. No matching description, meaning either Ethan imagined him, or the second man was erased too. Then Ethan remembered something else. During the flight, Ava dropped a napkin accidentally. He picked it up and handed it back. At the time, it meant nothing. Now he searched through his jacket pockets desperately and found it, crumpled near the lining. Inside the napkin, Ava had written numbers repeatedly. 14C, 27A, 31F, and one final message. They remove people in pairs. Lena immediately checked seating assignments. Her face slowly lost color, because passengers from seats 27A and 31F were now unreachable too. Federal agents arrived at Lena's office the following morning. 2 men, perfect suits, no visible emotion. They politely instructed her to surrender all materials related to Flight 908. When she refused, one agent leaned closer. "You don't understand what you're investigating." Lena stared at him coldly. "Then explain it." The man hesitated, then quietly answered. Flight 908 carried a protected witness under covert transport. Lena frowned. "Ava Mercer?" "No." The agent's eyes darkened. Ava discovered who the witness really was. Silence filled the room. Then the second agent finally spoke. The witness wasn't supposed to survive the flight. Lena slowly realized the truth. Somebody on board intended to assassinate a federal witness secretly during transit. Ava accidentally uncovered the operation, which made her dangerous. And now anyone remembering her became dangerous too. Using data recovered from Ava's encrypted cloud account, Ethan and Lena traced her final location before JFK Airport, a storage facility in Newark, Unit 221. Inside they discovered fake passports, burner phones, cash, and dozens of printed photographs, all showing the same man, a senator named Richard Vail, one of the most powerful political figures in Washington. The photographs connected him secretly to organized crime figures and illegal intelligence operations. But one image mattered most. Richard Vail standing beside the man in the black baseball cap, smiling. On the back Ava had written, "The witness can destroy them." Suddenly the mystery expanded far beyond a missing airline passenger. This was political, and people had already died protecting it. Ethan began experiencing disturbing lapses. Small things at first. Forgotten conversations. Missing hours. Objects moved inside his apartment. Then one night, he woke suddenly at 3:17 a.m. His laptop screen glowed in darkness. A document remained open, but he didn't remember writing it. The document contained only one sentence. "You spoke to her longer than you think." Below it was a video file. Flight cabin footage. Unreleased. Ethan played the clip, and immediately felt cold, because the video showed something impossible. During turbulence, Ava handed Ethan a small flash drive, then whispered directly into his ear for almost 30 seconds. But Ethan remembered none of it. The footage ended before revealing where the drive went. Somehow pieces of Ethan's memory were missing. Intentionally. Lena finally uncovered the protected witness identity. His name was Daniel Harrow, former intelligence contractor, specialized in digital disinformation and identity erasure programs. For years, he helped governments erase people quietly, not physically, digitally. Bank records deleted, travel histories altered, medical files removed, entire lives erased from searchable systems. Daniel planned to testify publicly against several political figures, including Senator Richard Vail, which meant somebody wanted Daniel dead before reaching Seattle. But Ava Mercer discovered the operation on board and secretly copied evidence proving everything. That evidence was now missing, which explained why multiple agencies desperately searched for Ava, not to rescue her, to recover the files. Ethan searched his apartment obsessively. Hours passed. Nothing, until he remembered the turbulence, the spilled coffee, the wet sleeve of his jacket. He checked the inside stitching carefully, and found it. A tiny black flash drive hidden beneath torn fabric. Ava placed it there during the flight. Inside were thousands of classified documents, identity erasure programs, illegal surveillance, political assassinations disguised as disappearances, and one folder labeled Flight 908. Ethan opened it slowly. The file contained passenger photographs. Every individual marked either green or red. Green meant safe. Red meant removal. Seat 14C. Ava Mercer. Marked red. Seat 27A. Red. Seat 31F. Red. Then Ethan saw his own seat. 14B. Red. Lena arranged emergency protection for Ethan, but deep down both knew it was probably useless, because whoever controlled Flight 908 controlled systems far beyond local police. That night Lena secretly reviewed archived airport footage again, this time frame by frame, and finally she saw it, a single corrupted moment near Gate 14. For less than 1 second, a shadowy figure appeared beside Ava Mercer, the man in the black cap. Then the footage glitched violently. When the image stabilized, both figures vanished. Not walked away, vanished, like somebody manually removed frames from existence. Lena zoomed further and noticed something terrifying hidden in the distortion. A TSA officer standing nearby, watching everything calmly, not reacting, because this operation didn't involve one killer. It involved an entire system. Federal agents relocated Ethan and Lena to a temporary safe house outside Tacoma. At least that's what they claimed. Neither trusted anyone anymore. Rain hammered against the cabin windows, while Ethan finally admitted something he had hidden since the flight. Ava told me one more thing. Lena looked up instantly. Ethan hesitated, then whispered, She said the witness wasn't the target. Silence. Lena frowned. Then who was? Ethan slowly answered. Everyone who accidentally saw him. The room became completely silent, because suddenly the disappearances made horrifying sense. Passengers weren't random witnesses. They were contamination. Anyone capable of identifying Daniel Harrow publicly had to disappear quietly, which meant Flight 908 itself had become a moving cleanup operation. And somehow Ethan survived. For now. Lena eventually tracked down one final survivor connected to the red list. An elderly man named Walter Briggs. Seat 31F. He was hiding inside a remote motel near Portland. Terrified. Barely sleeping. When Lena and Ethan reached him, he looked half insane already. They took my wife, he whispered immediately. Lena frowned. What? Walter's hand shook violently. She remembered the woman on the plane. Tears filled his eyes. And now nobody believes my wife ever existed. Ethan felt sick instantly. Walter showed them photographs. Family albums where his wife appeared partially blurred. Digital images corrupted strangely. Even government records showed him listed as unmarried. Someone wasn't just killing people. They were rewriting reality around them. Lena knew they were running out of time. Too many agencies involved. Too many disappearances. Too many lies. So she made one final decision. Release everything publicly. The black box audio. The documents. The red passenger list. All of it. At 1:07 a.m., they uploaded the files anonymously across multiple servers worldwide. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then phones across the safe house began ringing simultaneously. Unknown numbers. Dozens of them. Ethan answered one carefully. Static filled the line. Then Ava Mercer's voice spoke softly. Alive. If you're hearing this, they failed. Ethan froze. Lena stared at him silently. Ava continued. They erase identities digitally first, then physically later. A pause. But once people remember you publicly, the system breaks. Thunder echoed outside. Then Ava whispered one final sentence. The witness was never the real secret. Silence. Ethan swallowed hard. What secret? Ava answered calmly. The program was testing whether reality itself could be edited through information control. Static exploded across the line. Then the call ended forever. Most people believe disappearances are simple. Someone goes missing. Police investigate. Families search. Eventually answers arrive. But the terrifying truth is, modern reality exists mostly inside systems, databases, search engines, travel logs, digital records. And if somebody controlled all of them, how difficult would it really be to erase a human being completely? Not kill them, erase them, remove enough photographs, delete enough files, silence enough witnesses. Eventually memory itself begins collapsing. Maybe that's why the woman from seat 14C frightened people so much, because deep down, everyone understood the same horrifying possibility. If an entire airplane full of strangers could remember someone who officially never existed, then maybe reality is far easier to manipulate than we want to believe. And maybe somewhere tonight, another passenger is boarding another flight, already marked for removal.